Cool.
All
Hey,
right.
hey there, everyone. Welcome. Listen, if you're watching this, I am assuming that you want to know the secret to successful product launches, or you're a weirdo. I don't know. I mean, if you're here and you don't want to know the secret of successful product launches, you could just be bored. Maybe on your lunch break, maybe you're bored. I don't know. If that's the case, you don't want to know, and you're bored, and you're just spending your lunch hour with us or break time with us. That's cool too. Welcome. Either way, make sure you say hey.
You have gone away, Matt. You were breaking up some. So
Oh, am I back now?
cannot hear you.
That's weird. Let's see. Everything's plugged
There
in.
you go. You just came in. Something happened. So you went
That's
from
weird.
silent. You went from the silent 1910 movie version to
All
the
right.
2021 version. Just
Well,
immediately.
everybody,
How
let
cool is
me
that?
know. Let me know in the comments there if you can hear me well. If I actually did cut out, maybe it was on Alan's end. I would love for you guys to
Absolutely.
let us know that. So like I've run, well, January 11th actually. I'm running my 60th product launch. So this is courses, products, books, coaching programs, you name it. It'll be
What's going
60
on?
in January, 59 so far. 59. So Jim says nobody cut out. So that's good. So it was on your end. So that's good. I feel better now. I've studied probably a couple hundred, probably 300 or more. And today,
so that's good.
I'm going to share.
I feel better now.
No, I'm coming through on your
I've
end.
studied probably a couple hundred, probably 300 or more.
There we go. Anyway, all right, we're through the tech stuff. I love tech issues. It's always fun. Hey, Cindy, good to have you. Today, I'm going to share that secret weapon behind the biggest launches and what you guys can learn from them. I'm going to share a few tips, strategies, things I've picked up over the years. Basically, about running, six, depending upon where you're at, 6, 7, even 8-figure product launches. I'm going to reveal stuff I've never shared before, guys. This is really cool. I'm excited. So here's my challenge to you: take good notes today. Take good notes today. We're going to talk about the secret weapon of successful product launches, and I'm going to show you what separates the 5-figure launches from the 6-figure launches, the 6-figure launches from the 7-figure launches, and the 7-figure launches from the 8-figure launches. That's probably not what you think. All right. Before we dive in, though, first off, I want to welcome you, all of you who are on. Welcome. Let me know. Say hey, where you're joining from, all that fun stuff. Drop a line in the chat and just let me know where you're joining from. If you're in a weird place, meaning, like a place that I might not have heard of, let me know what time it is there too. I'm always curious about that. Also, Alan, welcome, buddy. Welcome again.
Hey, thank you. If the internet holds up, it must be on my end because everybody's hearing it. So we live on an island. What can I say? It gets wonky sometimes.
Isn't it amazing though? You live on a flippin' island, and yet typically we don't have any issues. That just blows me away.
Yeah.
I know me, we're having some, we're going to have like 45, 50 mile per hour wind gusts here in a couple of hours. There's a front moving through right now, and it's already starting to pick up about 15 miles per hour, and it's getting ready to really hit us. I'm like, that's when my internet starts getting funky. I don't know why. I have yet to figure out the box. So I think I mentioned this before, but like our internet here, when they built this house in 2001, the people who lived here before us, they picked a company when they deregulated internet, in 2001, or I think it was like in 2004, actually. They were able to, they picked a company that did not have any access around here. And so they had to put a box. And for those of you who know, you don't have an exclusive line on your internet. Like, oh yeah, we have our own internet. No, you're technically sharing it in a sense with all of your neighbors, and as many as, if you live in an apartment complex, it could be 1,000 people. You're sharing like one box. Now that box might produce, terabytes of data, and you get, 500 megs. That's fine, but you're still sharing it. And the reality is, if hundreds of people are all streaming at the same time, your internet's going to be slower than if only 5 people were. Well, we have a dedicated box. Like, we are the only people on it because everybody around us is on a different internet company. And here's what I can't figure out. The box is out there. The line is all underground. It's 120 feet from my office. Why does wind and rain affect my internet speed? It's not like it's not like that box is, 50 feet above the ground and okay, that kind of makes sense or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, also guys, if you would share this with somebody who would benefit from hearing it today, they want to know, like they're doing a product launch or they need to launch a product, share it, hit the share button, text them, put it on your wall, put it on your page, share it with your friends, share it wherever. Before we move on, I just looked up and saw the calendar. Today's November 11th, y'all. And here in the United States, that means something very special, which is a Veterans Day. Interestingly enough, I've been learning a lot about Veterans Day over the past few months, not intentionally. I would love to say, I put an intentional effort into that. It's kind of happened. I've listened to some different books by some authors that I like, and a lot of them are veterans. And just finished listening to a fascinating book about the formation of the Navy SEALs. And just really, I always have, but I haven't even a greater appreciation for what people go through, what our veterans have been through. One I just listened to was about soldiers returning from World War I. And while I don't think there's any living World War I veterans left, that would be amazing if there are. Just because that was probably the worst of the wars in terms of some of the horrors, doesn't mean that people don't come back changed sometimes for the worse. So I just want to acknowledge that today. If you are a veteran, thank you. If you know a veteran, give them a hug and tell them thank you. I think I think everybody should just thank a veteran. You don't have to go thank 100. You don't have to post some, big thing on Facebook. Just find one and thank them today. That would be my first call to action to you today. Speaking of calls to action, stay tuned to the end. I've got some exercises and some action items, something we're adding to these live lessons. I'm going to leave you with some practical takeaways, things that not just information, and you kind of have to figure out how to apply it. I may sneeze any moment now, just for the record. I'm going to mute myself real quick and sneeze really loud.
That is an off the record sneeze for everybody watching. So
I'm glad you guys, I don't know how much my mic picked up there, because sometimes when I mute it, it still picks up like a little bit. Anyway,
it was a complete off the record sneeze. So.
Nice. So I've got some exercises for you at the end, so stick around for those. So what is the difference between 6 and 7 figure launches? What's the difference between 7 and 8 figure launches? Before I share, I got 7 things for you today. 7 distinct things. We did a ton of research on these launches and found the 7 things that stood out. I'm going to share what it's not real quick. Okay. It's not experience, right? We saw people run an 8-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure launches, people who've been in business for less than a few years. I've seen people do 6 and low 7-figure launches who've been in business for just a few months. Our first student, Pete Vargas, our very first student, first person who ever paid me money for one of our courses. He went through our 7-figure affiliate launch program when it was in the beta version. All right. This is where I think I did it with like 15 people, did it live on Zoom. Very first student, his very first launch was $4.2 million. All right. So it's not experience, right? It's not list size. That helps. If you said, hey man, I want to run a 7-figure launch and I've got a list of 207 people, versus the other guy who says, I want to run a 7-figure launch, I've got a list of 100,000 people. If I'm betting on that second person. All right. Yeah. Now, if both people follow what we talk about today, the 100,000 persons, they're going to win. No doubt about it. But if a person with, say, 2,000 people and a person with 20,000 people, and the 2,000 person list one, he or she does what we teach today, and the person with 20,000 people ignores it, I'll bet on the 2,000 person list. It's not your qualifications. It's not your credentials. All right. It's not the letters behind your names. It's not whether or not you have a DR period in front of your name. It's not whether or not you're a 7-time Cy Young winner, or you've ever run $1 million business before. It's not whether or not you graduated from college. It's not whether or not you have what people would say are qualifications or credentials, right? It's not your connections, though we'll talk about that. Connections do help. They do help. I would much rather, again, all things being equal, and you come to me and you say, I'm best friends with 7 people who have a list of 100,000 people or more versus I don't know a soul. I'm going to take the person who's got the 7 people. Again, all things being equal. So they do help, but that's not what we did not find that as a big difference. We did not find a big difference in their sales strategy. Okay. Do you want a good sales strategy? Of course. If you suck at sales, here's my advice: learn how to sell. All of these people, whether they were running 6, 7, or 8-figure launches, were pretty darn good at sales. None of them were great, in my opinion. All right. So it was not their ads. It was not their Facebook ads or anything like that. It was not how good they are in video. It was not how good they are, their enthusiasm levels, their what's the word I'm looking for? Their personality. It was not some sort of
charisma.
Charisma. It was not their charisma. It was not whether they're an introvert or an extrovert. In fact, if anything, actually, the group of people that we studied leaned introvert. Now, I'm not saying that meant, that means if you want to run a 7-figure launch, you got to be an introvert. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it was like 60-40. All right. Little bit on the introvert side, but it was not I know extroverts who run 8-figure launches, and I know introverts who run 8-figure launches. So what does that tell you? It doesn't matter. Right. It was not how good they are at copywriting. It was not how many books on persuasion they've read or how many courses they've taken on internet marketing. Although there's one course in particular that almost every single one of them took, and we'll talk about that later. It was not their social media following. Again, all things being equal, you've got 5 million Facebook fans and this guy has 0. I'll take the 5 million. But that wasn't what we found. It was not the length of their launch. Launches are getting shorter. If you flash back to like 2015, the average launch was 17.4 days, if I'm not mistaken. Today, I think it's like 15.6. So they're about 2 days shorter 6 years later. But I've seen 8-figure 12-day launches. I've seen 21-day launches, do 8 figures. Same with 6 and 7 figures, right? I've seen people make their launch shorter and it got bigger. I've seen people make their launch longer and it got bigger. I've seen people make their launch shorter and it got smaller. And I've seen people make their launch shorter and it got longer and it got smaller. I mean, it's all over the place, right? So it wasn't the length of the launch, right? It wasn't their reputation. It wasn't whether they have a book. It wasn't an appearance on Oprah or landing on the Joe Rogan show or the Jocko Willink show or any of that stuff. None of that stuff. None of those things mattered. So what is it? What separates those 6-figure launches from the 7-figure launches? And ultimately what separates the 8-figure launches from the 7-figure launches from the 8-figure launches? So I've got some new data. I mentioned this earlier. New data. This is a major research project that I worked on. I finished it actually a while back. And yet I've never shared any of this. Actually, I've only shared one of these things ever with anyone, and it was our private coaching clients. And actually, I shouldn't say clients. I shared one of these with some of our private coaching clients. All right. So most of this is stuff I have never shared before. A few of these things you're going to hear and go, I already knew that. I already knew that's important. But here's a question. Are you doing anything about it? Are you actually implementing this? I'm looking at a great book here. And I interviewed John Jenks about this, and I talked about how there's an idea in here. See if I can find where I wrote the note. I can't, but I talked with him about it, and I was like, dude, that's a $250,000 idea. I mean, I already know how I'm going to implement it, and I put it into practice, and it's working. Did another interview with my friend Dory Clark, and I didn't say this in the podcast, but there's an idea in there that I was like, I got to do that. That right there could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to our business. You know what? Still haven't done it. I got the knowledge up here, but nothing to show for it. I mean, the knowledge is absolutely, completely, and utterly worthless if I don't do something with it. I mean, Alan, you coach people on weight loss. You say it all the time. You don't teach them what to eat. You don't teach them what to do. Most of us know. Yeah. Newsflash: eat less sugar.
The most common response people have, and I think it speaks to what you're talking about here too, is I could write a book on that. Yep. I could write a book on that, but they're not implementing. Same thing.
Page 1: eat less,
burn more.
Okay, maybe eat less and make the food better. In terms of nutritional density and quality. All right.
Sure.
Page 2, move more.
That's it.
You will lose weight. I have a, I won't say who, I'll just say he's a relative. And he was like, Matt, you got in great shape and you lost all you did keto. And then you switched to a slightly different version because of some, it's some medical stuff I've talked about before. I'm not going to get into that now. And you did all that and you're working out all the time. He's like, all I did was stop drinking pop, which is what people up here call Coke, weirdos, right? He's like, all I did was stop drinking pop. And I'm like, he's like, I've lost 15 pounds in the last month.
Hello.
I'm like, how much were you drinking? He's like, like 4 or 5 cans a day. And I'm going, yeah. It's
Surprise.
like what, 600, 700, 800 calories a day of pure sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Think that might have an impact. Do you think that he just discovered that Coke was bad for you? That was not something he's, in his late 30s. He did not at the age of 38 go, Coke is bad for me. He's known it for 2 decades. My 6-year-old knows that Coke isn't the greatest thing in the world for you, And so anyway, my point is you may hear some things today and you're like, yeah, I know that. But are you implementing it? So I found 7 major factors. I'm going to list them in reverse order. So least impact, although it's still a major lift, to the most impact, finishing with the number 1 biggest difference between 7 and 8 figure launches. You guys ready? Let me know if you guys are ready. What separates those 7 and 8 figure launches? All right. Number 7, they solved a specific problem for a specific person. Now this is counterintuitive, right? I did a $500,000 launch last year and then went to $2 million. I had to have broadened it, right? I had to reach more people. Maybe I used to only do men, but then I added women. Maybe I used to only help, people under the age of 40, and now I help people of all ages, right? That's how you go from 500,000 to $2 million. That's how you go from a $2 million launch to a $12 million launch, right? You add more people. Most people think that go from 7, 8 figures, you got to add more people. That is true. You got to add more people, but you don't have to expand the audience really. Okay. The most successful product launches we saw narrowed their niche a little bit. If you guys have ever read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, it talks about taking businesses from good to great. And that's what we're talking about today. How to take a launch from good to great. All right. And what we found is when we studied these successful product launches, they solved very specific problems for a narrow market segment. Very narrow market segment. They niched down almost to the point where they were a little scared to. There were a few people I talked to, and they just went, man, I don't know if I can. We were so like terrified. We almost didn't do it. We almost didn't pull the trigger on narrowing down. I thought it might backfire. Man, am I glad we did. Buyers need to know exactly what they are signing up for. Exactly what they're signing up for. So clear, simple messaging, right? That allows them to understand your product, understand your message, and to make a decision to buy, right? If your product offering, if your messaging, your sales message is not clear and not concise, forget about it. Forget about it, right? You're not going to make any sales. I can't do a New York accent. Sorry. I can do Boston, packed my car in the Harvard Yard, but I can't do New York. And so the thing is, it's got to be clear and concise because we live in a pretty short attention. Sorry, I forgot what I was saying. I'm joking.
Clear and concise.
That's joking. We live in a short attention span world. People want clarity and they want it quickly. Okay. So solve one specific problem for one specific person. This person is your avatar. Okay. I'm not literally saying one person. How do you go from $1 million launch to a $10 million launch and do it with one person? Well, you charge one person $10 million. Okay. Problem solved. No, this is your avatar. So this is an important exercise. If you want to get clarity on who you serve, you have to have an ideal customer avatar. We've all heard of this before, probably. I first heard of customer avatars when I was in college. I thought it was the dumbest thing ever, but I heard of it Newsflash, when I started my first company in 2002, I didn't have an ideal customer avatar. Grew that to about $500,000 a year and then fizzled out. Interesting. Next company did not have an ideal customer avatar. We were everything to everyone. Grew that to about $18 million a year. And guess what? We fizzled out. We never took that next leap, right? So you've got to create your ideal customer avatar. This is so important. This avatar is a fictional person. All right. Mine's name is Pete. I've talked about Pete before, so I'm not going to go into that, but it represents your entire audience. All right. It represents your entire audience or a segment of your audience. This is the one person for whom you're going to create content, right? You are not producing for the masses. That's not who you're producing content. That's not who this product is for. You're not creating products for your audience. You're creating and promoting them for one person, your avatar. All right. Stop calling it your list. It's a list, yes, but they're individuals. They're individuals. You're marketing to an individual. So if you need some help creating an avatar, I've got a free guide for you guys. Just go grab it. It's super easy. mattmcwilliams.com/avatar. We've got an avatar creation guide. So it'll walk you through step-by-step how to create that avatar. You need to know this avatar better than they know themselves. All right. So the number 7 differentiator is solve one specific problem for one specific person. The reason why that wasn't a bigger differentiator, just by the way, most people were already doing that. I actually believe this is a foundational one. In fact, I argue this could be number 1. We just didn't find that it made a huge difference because so many of them were doing this when they were running a 7-figure launch before they scaled to 8. And then they applied the things that we're going to talk about now, and they went to 8. But they got this foundational thing right. Number 6, they were clear on their messaging. All right. They were absolutely 1,000,000% crystal clear on the messaging, right? So they had their stories nailed down. They knew what stories they were going to tell in their launch. They knew what themes they were going to talk about, right? They knew they had their exact phrases that they used over and over again nailed down. So all those things, I call them their 10 core stories, right? It's the 10 stories that throughout your launch you're going to tell over and over again and tie into different situations. It's just the same things over and over, and they've perfected it. How do you do that? A little work called practice. You guys have probably heard me when I talk about, say, lead magnets, right? And I talk about my dad. And many of you have heard this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway, right? I talk about how my dad had the perfect lead magnet. My dad, what he would do, my dad was a golf instructor. My dad would walk up and down the practice tee, and he would look for that person who was in pain. Now, I don't mean physical pain, like they were suffering from the back pain or something like that, but they were frustrated. So he was looking for somebody who would hit that shot and go, and then they'd hit a shot and they'd mutter something to themselves. And they'd do that 3 times. And my dad would walk up behind him and say, "Hey, I'm the pro here at this course." That's authority, by the way. That's positioning. And he would say, Can I offer you a few tips? Can I watch you hit a few balls and see if I can help you? And they'd say, yes. And they'd hit a few more balls and he'd give them one tip. And then maybe something simple, right? A quick win. Talk about lead magnets, a quick win. And he'd change something in their grip or their stance. And then boom, they'd hit a shot. They go, "Oh my gosh, that was the best drive I've ever hit in my life." And they hit another just like it. And after 3 or 4 of those, they turn him and say, "How do I get more of these?" And he would sell them $1,000 golf instruction package. Mm-hmm. My dad, who never owned a computer, never got on the internet, taught me all I needed to know about what a lead magnet is. Okay, so that's my story there about my dad and lead magnets. I told that story almost word for word. I bet within 2 seconds from start to finish of the beginning of that story to the end, that the last 35 times I've told that story, I told it within 2 seconds of each other. Why? Because I've told it more than 35 times. I've told that story 100 times, and I perfected it, and I thought about it, and I watched myself tell that story and went, "Nope, I need to add that detail." And I made notes, need to add that detail. Mm-hmm. And then I scripted it. At one point I had that story scripted. I could tell it to you now within 2 seconds of, what I had told you 7 weeks ago without a script. But those little things, like he was looking for people in pain, not physical pain. And I'm not joking, guys. That little reach around that I did to my back, I've done that the last 35, 40, 50, 60, 75 times. Exact same move. Never with my left hand, always with my right. Why? I don't know. It's just how I do it. That's how I practiced it. So I practiced those stories. So what stories are you going to tell? Remember the names of people. Remember their stories. Practice telling them over and over again. Are you going to share any stats? Are there any stats that people need to know? You need to memorize those stats. I don't know. We, for this, I wouldn't be like, we surveyed, we know. No, we studied 87 launches. I know the number. I had it prepared. I don't even have it in my notes, actually, but I memorized that number. So every time I talk about this study that we did on successful product launches, I know that we studied 87. 87. I don't know, we studied like 80 something launches, right? No, 87. That's the number. We didn't study 80 something. We didn't study almost 100. We studied 87. So memorize any stats. Our average student increases their annual revenue by 114% in the first year. You need to know that number if that's something that's right. My average client loses 14.3 pounds in their first month. You need to know that number. Let's see. Our average client loses, let me see. Carry the 3, multiply by 4, divide by 7. 14.3 pounds. No, you need to know it and memorize it. So that and how do you do that? How do you quiz yourself? If there's 10 stats you need to know, quiz yourself. Average weight loss in the first month, 14.3 pounds. It just sounds crazy, right? But you need to be able to do that. What are quotes that you're going to use, right? Are there quotes you're going to use? You can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. Zig Ziglar, right? Why do I know that quote? Because I memorized it. All right. Because I memorized it. If there's something you want to quote, never compare your beginning to someone else's middle. John Acuff. The reason people suffer from insecurity is that they compare their behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. Stephen Furtick, right? I have memorized those quotes because I say them so often, for one, but I know that if something comes up and I want to talk about comparisons and insecurity and online business, I better be able to quote, there's some quote from some guy, I don't remember his name, but, Now, occasionally there'll be a quote that pops in my head. The one from Oliver Wendell Holmes, this is the one that drives me nuts because I can never remember what it is. And I'm not taking my own advice here, but once the mind is expanded to a certain, expansion, it can never go back to its original proportions. I totally butcher that quote every time. And my point there is, memorize those quotes. Are there examples you want to cite? Then work on those, right? Focus on your pitch, right? Areas of transition. So when you're going from paid content to your pitch in a webinar, practice that transition, because here's what happens a lot of times. A lot of times you're like, blah, blah, yeah. And so that's the 7 steps to such and such. Now, did you guys feel like you learned a lot of information today? Would you like to take your learning further? Or it's like, so now, would it be okay if I shared a few minutes of some how you could be even better at this? They suck at their transition from free to paid. Work on that. I would say in a webinar of 200 slides, hour long, the transition is 35 to 75 seconds long. It probably takes us 30 hours to create those slides. I spend that 30 hours, 24 of those aren't even me. They're Kevin on my team creating the slides. Of the 6 that I spend, 1.5 to 2 hours is on that transition window. 1/4, 20 to 25% is on 1 to 2% of that webinar. Because I know that's the area where I've got to be perfect. It's the area that I tend to mess up the most. Once I get into the pitch, I'm good. I can sell my stuff. All the free content I've taught 500,000 times, so I'm not going to screw that up, right? The stories I'm going to tell, I know all the stories. I mean, I hate to say this, but I haven't told a new story more than 10 times in a long time. The stories that I repeat over and over again are the stories I've been telling for a long, long time. So work on those, right? Practice your pitch, dial in your messaging, dial in your offer, memorize your bonuses, right? Know your price points. This is super important. Well, I think our payment plan is like 4 payments of $297. Why do you not know that? Know that information. Know what's in your product. Yeah, that's in module 6. When somebody says, one of the things I love doing is being able, when somebody says, yeah, does your course teach how to do such and such? And I go, yep, on day 3 of the course. In the second half of the lessons on day 3, you will learn this. Why? Because I've memorized what's in my own courses. Now, I didn't do that. If you go back and watch the videos, actually, when a new product came out, I didn't do that. I did not follow what I'm teaching here. I kind of would be like, I don't know. I think it's on day 4 or 5. Not really sure. So, but know these things, right? Know the modules, know the specs, know all of that, right? So that's important. You've got to really get clear on your messaging, right? That's the second thing. The 6th biggest differentiator between those 6 and 7 and 7 and 8 figure launches. Now, if you're just joining us, we are talking about what separates the 5 and 6 figure launches from the 7 and 8 figure launches. And if I just shared how the most successful launches solve one specific problem for one specific person. That was the number 7 thing. And they were clear on their messaging. I've got 5 more keys in order here, ending with the most impactful differentiator. If you have questions, you know what to do. I want to answer them. So ask away. And if you know somebody who would benefit from hearing this, make sure you hit that share button and let them know about it. All right, thing number 5 differentiator between those small and bigger launches is they prepared their assets well in advance. All right. They had their assets ready. You could take out the T and in assets and, anyway, they didn't rush at the last minute. The 6-figure launches are writing copy the night before or the day of. They are live sending. So when you send an email out and press send to your list, that's a live send. When you press schedule a week and a half in advance, that's a scheduled, right? We had a client years ago, great copywriter, genius, but he's writing copy the day of. And he was under so much stress. He lost focus on customer interaction, right? He could not, I remember, we wanted to have him do a Facebook Live tour. So the day before cart close, I wanted to put him on like 15 Facebook Lives with affiliates. He did 4. What was he doing instead of the other 11? Writing copy. Day before cart close, he was writing copy. That's not a good idea. Write it in advance. You can tweak it a little bit. Oh, how we learn this about, our potential customers. Or I don't know, if you were launching in the middle of, say, the beginning of the global pandemic, you could adjust your messaging. We had to do that. Our list launch challenge, we literally launched it at the beginning of the pandemic last year. We had to pivot our messaging, but we still got to use 80% of the assets we had created. So I only had to create 20 to 30% versus creating it all from scratch. These launches, they prepared their team. They had a plan for things like customer service and live chat. What happens if there's a failed payment? I realized, the average 7 figures. So the average launch that would be, I think the average launch that we studied that was 7 figures is like this. Talk about knowing your stats. I do not have this one prepared. I think was $1.8 million. It was either 1.6 or 1.8. That was the average size of the 7-figure launches we studied. Of those, most of them were missing out on about $75,000 on average, just from failed payments that they never collected on. I think you should have a plan for that. I don't know about your company, but $75,000 pays for an entire mid-level team member. So you could hire somebody. Here's an idea. Hire somebody to do failed payment. You don't have to do this, but I'm saying if you really wanted to get, and just pay them 20% of everything that they collect. $75,000 will cost you $15,000. Would you pay $15,000 to make 75? That is a net of 60. Raise your hand if you would do that. If you are not currently raising your hand, you are lying. Anybody in here would gladly put $15,000 into a machine, guaranteed to get $75,000 back.
Definitely me.
Raise
my big.
Who's responsible for what and when, right? Timesheets, who's doing what? This is something we noticed. They had a plan. So something like live chat. The 8 figures launches had live chat available 24/7. How do you have live chat available 24/7? You have a plan. You have people in different parts of the world. So the people in, their team that's in Europe were covering live chat from 1 a.m., 2 a.m. till 8 a.m. Their team in the Eastern United States was covering it from 8 to 4. Their team in the Western United States was covering it from 4 to, till 1 in the morning or whatever the breakdown was, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had a plan, though, for who's doing that. They set up their links, all their stuff. They tested their links well in advance. They had all their pieces of content mapped out. The product launches that went from 6 to 7 and then from 7 to 8, that was the number 5 differentiator that they planned well in advance. The number 4 differentiator, they followed the basics and learned from the best. All right. They did not try to reinvent the wheel. They innovated the wheel. People say, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. I didn't say reinvent the wheel, innovate the wheel. The wheel's evolved over the years. I don't know if you noticed, but guess what? The principles are still the same. I mean, basically it's the same. It's a wheel, Yeah, televisions are different, but it's basically the same. It's basically the same concept.
Mm-hmm.
So follow the basics. If you don't know the basics, all these other 5 things aren't going to matter. I remember years ago sitting at Ray Edwards' mastermind, and he told one of his top affiliates who was getting ready to launch, he said, I want you to do a strict PLF launch for your first launch. Follow product launch formula to a T. Do not try to innovate on this one. So you get the basics down, and then you go from there. I mean, you look at sports. I spent I played professional golf, y'all, not at the highest level, but I was ranked 14th in Division I when I at the University of Tennessee. So I was pretty good at golf. You know what I spent half my time doing? Working on my grip, how I hold a golf club, and alignment, where I'm aiming. Watch the pros. They all have alignment sticks down. You mean to tell me you've been playing this game for 25 years, you still can't figure out how to aim? No. I need help. I got to make sure my alignment's perfect.
It's too important to get wrong.
A friend of mine he was like the world champion at karate, right? He spends an entire month every single year practicing the basic punch, a straight punch. I mean, really doing this for 25 years, you can't just do no, he's making sure. It's like, we're talking perfection. You watch the best, that's what they work on. The best soccer players in the world, what do they spend the most time doing? Passing and dribbling. Basics. Why? Because it's probably not going to be the fancy thing that scores the goal. If you actually become a fan of soccer like I have, most of the goals are scored on pretty basic things. Very few of them are scored on anything extraordinary. It's fun to watch the highlight videos where it's like, I watched one the other day. It was called High IQ Plays. And, it was like how this player did this. And you know what? That rarely happens. That one play might happen once in a year across all major professional soccer leagues. 150,000th of the goals are scored like that. Mm-hmm. Most of them are scored on pretty basic things, and most of them are missed on pretty basic things. Most turnovers happen on basic passes, not because they try to pass necessarily. It was too complicated. They just didn't execute the basics. So like I said, if you don't execute the basics, none of the other 5 things matter. This is why I'm such a huge fan of product launch formula, guys. It's open right now. I'm looking at it's November 11th. It closes tomorrow. So you guys have got like less than 30, right at 36 hours, like almost to the minute to get in on product launch formula. And if you go to mattmcwilliams.com/PLF, you can get in. Jeff's the real deal, y'all. Jeff is absolutely the real deal. He knows this stuff. He spent 20 years teaching this stuff. He's worked with all of our clients. Literally, if you look at our clients over the years, Ray Edwards, Michael Hyatt, Stu McLaren, Rich Sheffrin, all of them have been through product launch formula. He's not he's a little bit like me, but a little bit more soft spoken. He's not I love his teaching style, right? He's not speaks in hyperbole and has a Lambo and stuff in his marketing. He's pretty humble, pretty down to earth. When you actually get to know him, he's even more so. Like I was talking earlier about introverts and extroverts. He's on the introvert side, but he plays an extrovert on TV. When you go through PLF, I just want to share a few of the reasons why I love it. The practical training, it's not theory. I love the book. We've talked about it many times, Influenced by Robert Cialdini. That's foundational. That's theory. this is practical, right? There are principles. He covers principles, but he shows you how to use them in your launch. So there's no fluff. He goes step by step, right? Step by step. Like this is not like, I see this with a lot of courses. Like, well, here's this thing, and then this thing, and then this thing over here, and then and they go A, P, B, W, T, C. They may go like D, E, and then Q. No, he goes step by step. All right. So literally goes through day by day and what a real launch sequence would look like. One of my favorite things that you get in PLF is the live calls with Jeff. Direct access to Jeff where you can actually ask him questions. So he's not going to, like, you're not just going to go through the course and be like, oh, I'm stuck. You get stuck. What do? You get on the live call. If you join PLF, guys, through my link, make sure you join the live calls. Go through them. Be on. Even if you don't have a question, which you will, get on the live calls and see what other people are asking. Gwen, who's in our Start Mastermind, calls it sideways learning, right? He gives you the scripts. Jeff gives you those scripts. I mean, we literally have used the scripts. Like he gives you word for word emails. We put those in our swipe file. We copy and paste them, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in sales. So you can literally put those in your swipe file. With PLF, you get lifetime access. So you're not it's not like one of those things where you get access to the 2021 version and you're out of luck in the future. You have lifetime access. I'll just go ahead and say it. I have not upgraded to the new version because I'm not going to have time to go through it because I've already been through it multiple times. I've been through it 3 times now. I still log in periodically and just like, oh, what did he say about this? And, I go through again, right? So I go through and check the swipe files and things like that. And then Jeff has some amazing bonuses. Just off the top of my head, tons of case studies, but they're not case studies like, here's how amazing PLF is. No, these are like step-by-step breakdowns of how people go through and use PLF. He's got lessons on niche selection, book launches, product creation, swipe files, like tons of bonuses. I've also got a ton of bonuses. I mean, like almost $4,000 worth of bonuses. We've got our Destroy Your Limiting Beliefs self-coaching guide. That's only for our private clients. We normally, you can't really buy it. Just to be clear, you cannot go to my website and buy this. I think it's worth $399. So that's the price tag I put on because it's normally only for our private coaching clients. But Jeff talks a lot about the inner game, right? This is the game that's going on in your head. And if you've got limiting beliefs holding you back, you are not going to succeed with PLF. You're not going to succeed with anything. You're not going to succeed with what I'm teaching you today if your limiting beliefs are holding you back. So get this as a bonus. Work on those limiting beliefs. Second, you get List Launch Challenge. You can go to my website right now. You can sign up for List Launch Challenge for $499 if you want. I will gladly take your money. And you will gladly get more than $499 in results. Or you can just get it for free when you get PLF. So teach you how to take your email list pretty quickly from 0 to over 1,000 people. It's a 5-day challenge. You'll go through it pretty quickly. And you can go through and kind of do it with PLF. And as you're going through PLF, boom, you got 1,000 people on your list. Now you can do some damage with that. You can run I've had friends run $10,000 launches. John Meese comes to mind. $10,000, almost $11,000 in a launch with like 1,200 people on his list. I mean, it's possible. Third, you get our Networking with Purpose Live, which we sold for $199. So when you go through my link, which is mattmcwilliams.com/PLF, you'll get the replay of this event where we teach you how to develop relationships, how to get your idea in front of the right people, how to actually network, how to grow that network. Fourth, I know I keep going. You get access to our 7-figure affiliate launch course. I talked about that earlier. That's the one that Pete Vargas used. Very first student to ever go through it. Did a $4.2 million launch. Results not typical, and I'm not promising that, just to be clear, but it's possible. See, that's the thing is like, oh, well, yeah, he lost 80 pounds on that program. I'm not going to lose. Okay, well, but it shows you what's possible.
Yep.
It shows you what's possible. So I'm going to give you access to that. We sell that for just under $2,000. basically you could go to my website, buy that. It costs you $2,000, just to be clear. Or you can pay less than $2,000 and get PLF and get that included. So it's kind of a no-brainer. You'll get all of our affiliate swipe files. This basically will walk you through how to recruit affiliates. Step by step. We'll give you all the templates for that. You get our promo prep checklist. This actually a couple of things that we put together, and it's the checklist we give to our affiliates to get them to 10x their sales. So you get all of that, 6 bonuses. Like I said, it's over $3,500 total if I did my math right. Go get product launch formula. This is that 4th key, right? To go from 5 to 6 figure launches, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, wherever you're at, to the next level. Follow the basics, learn from the best. There is nobody better than Jeff Walker. He is the master. He is the inventor of the product launch, y'all. I mean, I kind of want to learn from the inventor, and the one who's perfected it for 20 years now. And you think, oh, well, do you want a doctor who's been a doctor for 30 years? Maybe not, because there's a lot of new stuff in medicine. But Jeff's still innovating. Jeff is still innovating. I mean, he's doing live launches now. He took the method, and then when lives came out, he started doing live launches like he did this time. So he's not just like doing things the same way he did 15 years ago. On top of that, with literally over 10,000 students, they're innovating and then sharing with him what works. And then he's sharing that in PLF. So go check that out. Go check that out. mattmcclaimage.com/PLF. Tons of amazing bonuses. All right. So back to our topic here. Solve one specific problem for one specific person. Get crystal clear on your messaging. Those transitional, launches, they prepared their assets well in advance. So they weren't busting in at the last minute. Right. And they followed the basics well, and they learned from the best. So I got 3 more keys for you here. Number 3, they created a super long runway. Now, similar to number 5, if you remember that, we talked about preparing way in advance. But I mean specifically with your audience. So this is the content, right? The warm-up sequence, the teasing. My friend and client, Stu McLaren, he says that the longer the runway, the bigger the result. So the more runway you create, the warmer you have your audience, the more likely it is that you're going to be able to launch successfully. And what we noticed was if you wanted to go from a 6 to a 7-figure launch, you went from a 2 or 3 or 4 week runway to a 5 or 6 or 7 week runway. You want to go from a 7 to an 8 million, 7 or 8 figure launch, 7 to 8 figure launch. You go from a 2-month runway to a 3, 4, 5 or 6 month runway. That's what we noticed. Stu builds that buzz every year. I mean, I've got a t-shirt right down here. It says April 22nd. The year before I had one that said April 23rd. This year, coming up here in just a few weeks, y'all, I'm going to have my April 21st shirt for Stu's launch. They're all in months in advance. I've got a client named Stephanie, and we were talking about she's got a launch coming up in January, and we decided we need to cancel that launch. We need more runway for the launch. So we're looking at either March or June even. And this is important. You got to have that runway. Now, one key to this is keeping your audience warm. I talk about this all the time. Like I think about when I make my coffee in the morning, I boil the water on the stove. And before like this time of year, before I put my winter clothes on, before I take the dog out, before I do anything, I turn that water in the pot. I keep it in the pot overnight with a lid on it, take the lid off, and I turn it on low. I don't turn it on high because I never know how long the dog's going to take. Is he going to poop? Is he not? Is he going to search around for 7 minutes for that perfect spot? What is the deal with dogs?
The big question.
You have 2 acres here, but of course you choose the part that's up the hill, over the log, and in the farthest point that you can get from our house, then still be on our property, and that's where the dog poops. So now I've got to, I got to do that, right? And I got to clean it up, and I got to come all the way back. Oddly enough, it's always uphill again coming back, because I'm over 40 now, so everything is uphill both ways. And
in the snow.
Yeah. And so, but that water is heating so that when I do finally come in and I turn it to high to boil it, it boils in a minute and a half. If I poured cold water in and turned it on high, it would take 5 to 7 minutes. Same concept, right? And I keep preaching like, I keep saying, you got to warm up your audience before you try to sell them something, right? One of the biggest mistakes I see marketers make is they try to sell to a cold audience and they come out of nowhere, like completely out of left field with a promotion. And then they expect people to suddenly just develop a need and desire for the product, right? Zig Ziglar, is the master of sales. Every sale has five obstacles, right? No need, no money, no hurry, no desire, no trust. No need, no money, no hurry, no desire, no trust. Those are the 5 obstacles to selling anything. And when you don't warm up your audience, right, there's no need. There may be no money. They didn't have time. I can't tell you, literally $1 million worth of sales every year of Stu McLaren stuff is people who said, I've been saving up for the last 6 months. That answers the money problem, right? There's no hurry because they just fit. There's no desire. There's no trust. You have all those obstacles, right? So you haven't established a need. You haven't given your followers time to consider even coming up with the money. There's no hurry because there's no need or desire. There's no trust for you. There's no chance of selling. There's no chance of selling. So you have to warm your audience up. Like the key point here, guys, a cold audience doesn't buy. You've got to warm up your audience first. You've got to warm them up. So I've shared suggestions that'll help you warm up your audience in the past. The key is to get your audience in the mood before you attempt to sell anything. I've told you, one of the things I've talked about is you got to consistently provide valuable content of your own, but I've never told you how to do that. I've actually never shared that. I've never talked about content creation. And that's something that we talked about in depth in this month's Affiliate Insider Monthly Backstage Pass. So if you want to get access to that, guys, go to mattmcwilliams.com/AIM trial. If you're not an AIM member, if you are an AIM member, do me a favor, talk about how good AIM is. But if you're not, go get the trial, guys. You can join for $1. You'll get access to this. I share, it's coming out this week or coming out next week. I can't remember. Either this week or next week. Talk about, remember what I said, know your product? Well, I don't remember when this comes out, but it's either already out or it's coming out Monday. And I share this ICE framework, right? This ICE framework is for creating more content in less time. I got like 30, I think it's 34, 35 strategies for creating content. Honestly, guys, it is the best piece of content that I've ever released inside of AIM, and that's saying something. So at a minimum, you want to release at least one new content, a piece of content every week. Consistent day, consistent time, right? So it could be a weekly podcast on a Tuesday. It could be a blog post on, Thursday. Once a week is the bare minimum. Whatever your rhythm, you need to be consistent so your audience knows what to expect. And people ask me all the time, like, how do I create more content, right? This is how you keep your audience warm. So how do you create more content? Well, and then how do you get more eyeballs on the content you actually create, right? So this ICE framework, ICE, it's a 3-phase system for creating more content in less time and getting more traffic. So the ICE stands for idea, right? So the I is idea. This is generating those concepts, right? Some just brainstorming for potential content, right? The C is creation, right? So this is actually recording the podcast, writing the blog post, recording the webinar, et cetera, right? And then we walk through, okay, how do you generate more ideas? How do you actually create more of the content? And then how do you engage people? That's the E. So how do you actually promote your content? One of the biggest mistakes I see is that people spend 80% of their time coming up with the idea and creating the content. They spend 5 hours on that and 1 hour promoting it. What if we flip that on its head? What if we spend 1 or 2 hours thinking of it and creating it, 5 to 8 hours promoting it? Imagine how much more traffic you would get, how many more eyeballs you would get. So I walk you through how to do that, how to consume content in a way that actually produces more content for you. I think that's probably my favorite part of this thing, how to capture ideas, how to save those ideas, how to curate content, how to trend jack, how to turn one piece of content into like 5 or 7 or 10, how to repurpose your content, how to get expert interviews, I even teach you what Nickelback can teach you about content creation, which is kind of scary because I hate Nickelback. I learned the other day, I was listening to a history of the War of 1812. And I had this thought that I'm actually really glad we lost the War of 1812, because if we hadn't, Nickelback would be Americans. And I'm really glad they're not. So how to just tons in there. So guys, go get your trial of AIM. You don't want to miss out on this. mattmcwilliams.com/AIM trial. All right. Our final 2 secrets of successful product launches. And thank you, Chad and Jim, for your comments there. Chad says AIM is full of current and relevant info. And Jim says AIM is awesome. I've learned so much. If you're not a member, you need to join. I agree. So don't listen to me, listen to Chad and Jim, and you'll get access to that report, to that Backstage Pass, where I walk you through how to create tons of awesome content. All right. The number 2 factor from good to great launches, they had superior affiliate management. All right. Kind of figured you'd get there at some point, Matt, right? It's something that's going to involve affiliates. Here's what I noticed I especially noticed this from 6 to 7 figures, from launches that like 5 and 10x, from like $500,000, like $2 to $5 million. They did not skimp in this area. They knew that this secret, right? All these people, they have their formulas and their methods, and they teach this. Oh, the key to growing your business is this thing. I'm not going to pick on anybody, but it's this thing. No, the key is that they had 94% of their sales from affiliates.
Yeah.
85% of their sales from affiliates, 96%. These are real numbers. That's the secret. Most people don't talk about. No, because the reason is they want to teach you their thing. Oh, the secret is Facebook ads. No, Facebook ads are a part of it. But you know how ironically, their thing is about Facebook ads, and 84% of their sales came from affiliates.
Mm-hmm.
That says something to me. So what do they do to go from 6 figures to 7 figures? Even like high 5 figures into 6 figures. And we've even had people go from like $80,000 launches to very low, like $1.1 million launches. It's a big jump, right? What is it? They hired someone either internally or externally. They either had somebody in their company become the affiliate manager. We have a coaching client who's doing that right now. Mm-hmm. He got on. They hired him. He came on. He was internal, and for the first couple months of our relationship, he was part-time. And he came on the call yesterday. And he said, "I've got good news, Matt. I'm full-time affiliate manager now." He's like, "Boom! We are gonna rock this, dude." So what they do? They got coaching. They learned how to do it. You know, they hired a coach like us. You know, they hired your affiliate launch coach, right? They hired us to coach them. They just share my 16 plus years of experience. They hired us to coach them, or they hired us to run it. We have an agency now. So for the first time ever, I'm actually able to take on more than 1 or 2 new clients a year in running their affiliate programs. We've added 6 clients just in the past couple of months, with more to come. Only because before we were super picky. I've said no to 1,002 people over the years. I've said yes to 18. I only said yes to 18 people. It's less than what is that? What is 18 out of 1,020?
1.8. Yeah, 1.8 around there.
Yeah.
%. Really small.
Now we get to say yes to 5 or 7 or 8% of people. Do not skimp in this area.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing is they prioritized it. They knew. Let's just even go low. Let's say affiliates only make up 60% of your sales.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they'll have a part-time person. Let's do the math. They pay that person $80,000 a year. Let's go high. We'll go $100,000 a year. And they work 3 hours a day on the affiliate program. So we'll just go high and say that's $35,000. They're investing $35,000 into their affiliate program.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying your Facebook ads company $3,000 a month. You're paying them more just in their retainer than you are investing in the affiliate side. That 60% of your sales, and you're investing maybe 5% of your budget. No, let's up that. Do you need to invest 60% of your budget to get? No. but you need to invest 10 or 15% of your team budget. You'll have all these people doing live chat. You'll spend $200,000 on customer service, and you'll spend $100,000 on this. And you want to invest in the affiliate program that are going to produce 60, 70, even upwards of 90+% of your sales. The funny thing is, actually, yeah, the more you invest, then the bigger percent it becomes. Well, affiliates are only 42% of our sales because you haven't invested probably. I mean, I'm telling you right now, the ones that we run, I know the numbers. They're over 85% consistently. I don't think we've had a client, 59 launches. I can virtually guarantee you, I'll just say for sure, no more than 2 of those 59 launches were affiliate sales less than 80% of the total sales in the launch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only saying 2 because I don't even know what 2 they are, but I think it might be 0. Launch after launch, I'm thinking of, I mean, yeah, $4.4 million launch, affiliates were 3.8, whatever the math is on that. $5.1 million launch, and affiliates were just under 4 million. So that was as close as we've ever been. I'm sorry, just over 4 million. I think that was right on the 80% line. I'm thinking of one in particular. Wow. There's a launch of one of our coaching clients right now. They yesterday hit their goal hit what they made in the last launch a year ago. They still have 2 more days left in the launch. 5-day open cart. Yesterday, they hit their goal. Traditionally, they know that sales double from about midday on Thursday to the last day. So they are going to more than double last year's launch, and almost 95% of the sales are from affiliates.
Wow.
What was the big difference? Number one, they had a philosophy change. That philosophy change led them to investing in our coaching. The big difference, just to let you guys know, was they invested in small affiliates. Like how many times have I said this? And they went out and they got a bunch of their customers, and they've got tons, like almost all of their growth is affiliates with 10 or less sales. Only one, probably about 5% of their growth, maybe 6%, is one affiliate that we introduced them to, who's up in the top, who's their number 5 or 6 affiliate right now. Most of the rest of their growth is affiliates with 2 sales, 1 sale, 3 sales. They've got hundreds of those people doing it. So they invested in their affiliate program. So if you want to invest in your affiliate program, Your Affiliate Launch Coach, go check that out, youraffiliatelaunchcoach.com. If you're interested in having us run your affiliate program, just reach out to me. Just reach out to me personally, matt@mattmcwilliams.com. You can just reach out to me directly. You can text me at 260-217-4619 if you're interested in us running your affiliate program. So what's the number one differentiator between, and by the way, Alan, can you put that URL, Your Affiliate Launch Coach, just in chat for everybody?
I will.
What's that number one differentiator between 7 and 8 figure launches? This was surprising, actually. I did not expect this, but it was the number one differentiator. They had 10 plus entry points. This was the biggest differentiator, number and variety of entry points. So they had 10 plus. What does an entry point mean? It means ways that they can come into the launch, things that affiliates can mail. What are those different ways that someone can access the launch? And then the variety of those. On average, they had about 7.5 different types. So they had maybe a video series and a webinar and a workshop and a masterclass, and they had ebooks and free reports, cheat sheets, guides, live streams. Then they had a different webinar. Sometimes some people had 2 different types of webinars. That's 2 different entry points, right? They had a challenge. They had a book, a mini course. They used quizzes and assessments, right? Case studies, a coaching session with hot seats. They did the community group. They had the sales page. They had the sales video. They had a fast action bonus, the mid cart bonus. So if we think about that, right? What does that mean? Like they might have 2 different, like an ebook and a free report. That's 2 entry points. Then they had a workshop, a live workshop that had 3 days. That's 5 entry points. Then they had a webinar, and that's a 6th entry point. And then they had a live stream. That's a 7th. And they had a cheat sheet they could download. That's 8. Then they had maybe a different webinar, and that's 9. Then maybe there was a challenge in there. That's 10, but maybe they didn't have the challenge. So we'll go back to 9. Then they had the open cart. That's, 10 or 9 or whatever I'm on, right? They had the fast action bonus, which that's part of the sales page. So we won't count that separately. But then they had a mid cart bonus. And then they had, another live stream when things were live, and they had all these different entry points, all these different things that people could promote. That was the biggest difference between 7 and 8 figure launches. The number of entry points and the variety, right? The use of various entry points. And that's the biggest differentiator. There's part of that is just different modes of learning. Some people are visual learners, so they want to watch things. Some people are auditory learners, so they want to listen. That was the other thing we noticed is if you do a workshop, if you do recorded videos, have an audio download. We did that. So I think it was like our 2017 to 2018 launches. This is our internal test launch. We changed nothing. And in fact, we actually had less people go through in the 2018 version. I mean, it was like 2% less, but it wasn't, just saying it wasn't more people. We had 15% more sales. The only thing we changed was that we added audio downloads of everything. Why? Because some people are auditory learners. I'm an auditory learner. I don't want to watch your video unless you have something to show me. I don't want to watch it. I'm not going to pick up anything visually. I don't really learn anything visually. I just, again, unless it's like, here's how you hold the golf club. Here's how you do this exercise. I do learn stuff, but I'm an auditory learner. So if you want me to remember it, I have to hear it. And so those those audio downloads, I don't know, 20%, 30% of the population is auditory learners. They loved it. People loved it. Is there something that's hands-on? Can you do a challenge where they're going to do the work? So that number and variety of entry points. Really what this comes down to is hustle. It's easy to do 3 or 4 or 5 entry points. Doing 10, 11, 12, it's harder. Requires more work. Are you willing to do it? That's what it comes down to. So I want to leave you with some action items. All right, I want to leave you with some clear next steps. I mentioned this at the beginning. I don't want this to be one of those things where you just don't put anything into action here. So I've got 5 things that I want you to do. Number 1, determine that specific problem you solve for a specific person. Your launch, the free work, the free workshop, the free webinar, the free video series, the free report, the free guide, the free cheat sheet, the free whatever, and the paid stuff. What is the specific problem you solve and who is the specific person? The second thing I want you to do, download the avatar creation guide. All right, mattmcwilliams.com/avatar, super easy. Create your avatar. Go through the exercises and create your avatar. This is not hard. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's not simple, but it's easy. I don't remember which one's which. All right. Why do I say you got to put it in the work? You need to spend an hour or 2. One of the things I say, and I'll just tell you, is I want you to get a little crazy sometimes with your avatar. Like I like to even think, okay, what does this house look like? Does he like Pizza Hut or Domino's, or neither? Because both of them are kind of gross. Yeah. What does he like? What does he do for fun? Like, I mean, I envision my avatar. This is how crystal clear I am on my avatar. My avatar typically is a little bit of a sports fan, but not a sports nut. They enjoy watching a good, football or basketball or soccer game, but they're not obsessed with it because they're also trying to change the world. My avatar, I see them playing with their kids, and I feel the pain that they're going through, and I just I create a crystal clear vision. Jim says the avatar guide is extremely helpful. We had somebody tell us a while back, a lady from Spain. Wish I could remember her name. That's one of the names I need to remember here, y'all. And I don't. I talked about that earlier. She talked about how, she said, this is the best thing I've downloaded numerous ones of these, the best one I've ever downloaded. So number 2, download that guy, create that avatar, have an avatar done by next Monday. In fact, have it done by the end of the day tomorrow. Thirdly, get clear on your messaging. I would just want you to work on the things that I talked about earlier. Memorize those stories. Memorize those stats and the quotes, right? Perfect your pitch, your sales pitch. That's super important. Fourth, check out Product Launch Formula. See if it's right for you. You can learn more about PLF. Very easy. mattmcwilliams.com/PLF. Go there. Check it out. You'll see some case studies on there. So a lot of those people are my friends. I have a lot of buddies on that page. See if it's right for you. See if it can make a difference in your business and in your life. And then fifth, check out this month's AIM Backstage Pass, creating consistent content like we talked about earlier. You can get a $1 trial of AIM, mattmcwilliams.com/AIM trial. So go check that out. I want to help you be able to create more content, more consistently good content that converts and leads people to a buying decision. If you have any questions about this or anything else, drop a line here. You're watching the replay. You can drop a comment here, or you can text me at 260-217-4619. I'd love to hear from you. And like I said earlier, if you know anybody who you think, what they would benefit from this information, just hit that share button real quick. The replay will be up here in a moment. Hit that share button, share it with your friends, text them, Skype them, carrier pigeon a link. I don't know how you do that, but whatever.
Smoke signals too. Those
rails.
That's it.
Via smoke signals, 4 puffs for F. And then next week, guys, same time, same channel, bat channel, same bat time, 2 p.m. Eastern, Thursday, November 18th. This will be our last one before our little Thanksgiving break. We're going to be talking about, actually, you know what? Next weekend, next week, I'm not going to be on. I just thought about this. No, my wife and I just went on an anniversary trip. I haven't even let you know yet, Alan. So we're going to be, I'm not going to be on next week.
Does that mean Angie and I go with you, or what does that mean?
No, I'm not even telling you where I'm going.
I hear you.
I'm not telling anybody where I'm going.
I'm sure Tara will appreciate that.
Yeah, I totally just forgot about that. I'm like, it's on our calendar. I've got to change that. So we're going to be, we'll be off for 2 weeks for my anniversary trip next week. So that'll be, I always do the math there. So it confuses me because it's your first anniversary is the year after you're married.
Yes.
How does that work? If we got married in 2008, is this our 13th or 12th anniversary?
This will be your 12th, I believe.
Yeah, because the 12th anniversary. We were married 13 years ago, but it's the 12th anniversary. That's how it works. So I promise you guys, I'm not stupid. November 20th.
You can run an affiliate program. There's no doubt, but I'm not sure about this whole math thing. We're going to talk about that later.
Though. Yeah, because you think about it, it's like I'm 42 years old, but you're in your
43rd year.
Yeah, but how is that? So on my 42nd birthday, I was 42 years old. But it's my 12th anniversary. We've been married 13 years.
No, you haven't been married 13 years.
We got married in 2008. How is that not 13 years?
Excuse me. That is 13 years coming up. You are coming up on 13 years right now.
Yeah, so it's our 13th anniversary. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You are. My bad math. I did bad math.
I'm going to go and be like, happy 12th anniversary. She's going to be like, you're sleeping in the other bedroom tonight.
The dog out.
Thankfully, not thankfully, that's that bad. We actually we got a nice house where we're going. So there's an extra bedroom if I screw that up again. So here in 3 weeks or so, we'll be talking about the 7 things that every affiliate manager must do this holiday season. So we were going to talk about it next week, but I decided kind of last minute, we're going to leave a little bit early for our anniversary trip. And I'll tell you guys, because it's a big area. You can't find us. We're actually going to one of our favorite places on earth, which is Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So we're going to go down there. First time we've ever gone, just the 2 of us. So it'll be good. We'll get to ride some of those alpine coasters and do some fun stuff. So we'll be down there for a while. No work whatsoever. Just chilling and relaxing and acting all cool. Maybe shoot some b-ball outside the school.
All right. No, not in Gatlinburg.
Yeah. So, I don't know, Alan. Did you get the reference there?
Too cool for school, I think.
No, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh no! I did watch that show, but I didn't memorize it.
Speaking of real quick, go back to the memorization thing. I had a pastor once. He said, "Oh, you think you can't memorize Bible verses?" And then he just started going, in West Philadelphia, born and raised. And then the whole congregation was like, on the playground is where I spent. And we all sang the entire Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song. And he goes, yeah, y'all can memorize Bible verses.
Yeah, I had somebody do that one time with me on Bible verses. I said, oh, I can't memorize stuff. He says, what's your phone number? And I told him my phone number. He said, yeah, apply the same kind of intensity to these, and you'll learn those too. So it's important.
So we'll see you guys on whatever the Thursday after December 2nd. Awesome. We'll see you guys then. Take care. Bye-bye.